Hey, so this is my post-activity reflection. Um, the agenda was followed. I did get to answer all of the questions. Um, the objectives were met because I just really wanted to get this teachers' feedback on how effective professional development in our on our campus and in our district has been for them and what happens in their classroom. And even with some of the issues, the academic issues we have, I wanted to know, is that supporting it in any kind of way. One of the revelations that I got regarding time management is I really wish, like, it went over 35 minutes. So I just wanted to make sure that we had enough time to talk about everything. And I felt like the teachers had enough time to talk about everything, but because it was at the end of the day and it was after Halloween, and we had a very tiring day, and we also had a little gathering that I wish I would have planned, more accordingly to that. So that taught me to make sure that I'm making better preparations and even being aware of holidays or what's going on campus before I even implement or have another focus group or something like that. Well, the focus of the meeting was professional development, as I said before, and how effective it is. My findings about the professional development practices were, one of the things that I found really interesting is that most of the teachers who talked about PD that was really effective, it was about classroom management, student behavior, socio-emotional issues with students and understanding it and how to help those students. I thought that was I just thought it was very interesting because when you think of PD and professional development, I usually think content, or most people would think content. How's it going to help my content? But I guess most of the teachers felt like, the knowing the whole student and the way the brain works and how they learn and even how they interact and their behaviors was equally important because you can't teach someone the content if the behavior is bad. You have to first break down that barrier and learn and give them some skills and maybe even learn some skills yourself, some ways to interact as far as classroom management strategies or, building relationships with your students and even understanding and just having patience with what they're going through. So I thought that was very interesting. Also, I thought it was interesting that the teachers, when asked how the campus professional development, how effective it was, they felt like it wasn't effective at all. They felt like it was a waste of their time. And the professional development they felt was more helpful was always off campus. And it was, even though it was still dealing with classroom management and building relationships with students, but it was off campus that was more helpful, which was really funny because we recently had a training, district wide training, where we had people from restorative practices come on our campus and train us on doing circles and and how to effectively build those relationships and break down those walls with students. But none of them really felt like it was helpful. They thought they took a little bit of it, but they didn't think it was helpful as a whole. Which now, fast forward to the future where we've had another restorative practice. We had our mid-year training, which was a lot more informative and broken down. And I think the initial one didn't give us as many tools to kind of work with. It didn't break it down enough to where we understood the why and how to implement it. And I think when we went back this past Friday, the day after Halloween, we learned how to implement it. It was broken down a little bit more. We had breakout sessions where they actually went over it like we were the students, and we came up with, a social contract or a treatment agreement, they call it. And it was a little bit more helpful. So I'm interested to see what they think about restorative practices now. Another thing that was kind of like a revelation was the fact that we have a literacy cohort that our seventh grade team goes to eat once a month on Thursday, and they have not felt like it was helpful at all. And it's after school, and they thought about, maybe the timing is the reason why it wasn't so helpful. But the fact that they didn't get anything out of that content based, you know, training, or they can't see evidence of it in their class, it was really shocking to me. I thought that was shocking. Another thing that I felt like was really like a revelation was the fact that they, when asked what they would tell the campus principal about about professional development and how effective it is, they all say, "Oh, we'll say it's great. I love it." So they didn't even feel comfortable letting the campus principal know that they weren't they didn't feel like it was effective, or that they thought it was a waste of time. And so what I thought about is just being in this whole, on this journey to becoming, an assistant principal and ultimately a principal, is what type of communication do I want to have with my staff, to where I would want them to be able to tell me, hey, this wasn't effective, or even though we have this book for the rest of the school year once a month on these Thursdays, these long Thursday afternoons, it's not helping me. It's not being effective. And so that right there just kind of, it was eye-opening for me to just think, how can I build that relationship? And, I started thinking about some of the things that, we talked about, and the levers, and, and how to build those relationships with your staff and the shared decision making. I really started to think about how does that look? How do you implement that? And so we can avoid this wasted time when it's not really showing evidence. Because if a teacher is trained on the practice and that practice is never utilized in a classroom, that was wasted time. And so I thought about that. So moving forward, as the instructional coach, since I've had that focus group with my team, with my seventh grade team, or five of my seventh grade, I think it's 4 or 5 of my seventh grade teachers, one thing that I took away from that, and I make sure I acted on it immediately, was I let the curriculum specialist, who is the facilitator in those literacy cohort trainings, I let her know that it hasn't been effective for us, that we don't feel like it's effective. We would like to see more of, and I did ask the teachers what did they want to see more of, and they gave me some ideas, and I relayed those information to her. I let her know we want to see more strategies. We wanted to see more of teachers doing it, like actually going into other classrooms and seeing the teachers doing it, like the teacher said they would like to see it in practice in order for us to take it and implement it in our classrooms. And she was very receptive to the feedback, so much so that she actually canceled our literacy cohort for this month, because she wants to regroup and use the information that the teachers provided her with in order to come up with some more effective trainings. And I thought that was really awesome. So I feel like something good came from this. It changed my perspective, as in, like I told you, how do I want to communicate with my team and my staff in the event or when I become an assistant principal or principal. But also, it made me think about, as an instructional coach, the strategies that I'm suggesting to my teachers. I should do more modeling. They seem like they wanted to see things in practice. And so I feel like instead of telling, I need to show. Show, don't tell, which is a strategy we actually use in ELA. But I think that's important for my teachers to see me do it in the moment. And so a lot of times I do model the strategies in our meetings, our PLC meetings, but I think modeling them in the classroom with the students is more powerful and effective for the teachers to see it happen. And even like when one teacher in the video said, "Oh, with those," I said, "Oh, come do that with my class. It's not going to work with the kids I have." So I think even going into those classes that are more challenging for teachers and modeling what I'm suggesting for them to do is more impactful. So that's one of the things that I tend to work on. I'm working on right now, even as an instructional leader, as an instructional coach, and I'm going forward. Thank you.